Hello and welcome to this revision video. Now this next one follows on from the last one, which was about the aims of Adolf Hitler. And remember, in that last one we were looking at the road to World War II and trying to perhaps begin an understanding of whether Hitler was the main cause of World War II or were other leaders and the League of Nations at the time the cause of World War II. But when it comes to World War II, we can kind of break it down and kind of sum up 8 different steps that actually led to war in chronological order, which is what you can see on this slide here. At the bottom, you've got the first aspect, which is in 1935, leading all the way up to September 1939, when France and Great Britain eventually declared war on Hitler and Germany. Now, if we're starting at the bottom, so at our first step, we can see that the word Tsar is got the S in the colour red, and that's because each letter of each part of the steps will make one long word, and those two, not one long word but 2 words, is the word SCRAMCUP, and each of those letters are written to form the word SCRAMCUP, so I'm just underlining them here. So you've got Tsar, conscription and rearmament, Rhineland, Austria, Munich, Czechoslovakia, USSR, Nazi Pact, and Poland. And that's the best way of remember all the 8 steps that lead up to World War II. So if we start at the bottom here, and we'll start with the S, which is the Tsar. Now the Tsar had been taken away from Germany at the end of World War I, and was given to be as a mandate by the League of Nations. And really France had a lot of control over the Tsar. It was a really important industrial area for Germany, and they used to get a lot of resources from there, but now obviously it was under the control of somebody else. But in 1935, as it had always been said would happen in the Tsar, there was a plebiscite held, and a plebiscite is where the people who live there get to decide which country they want to be part of. Now, with an overwhelming majority, the people of the Tsar voted to join with Germany once again, like they had many years before. And this is a starting point for 8 steps to war, because remember, one of Hitler's aims was making Germany great by expanding it and by taking back land that had been taken off Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. So here it's 2 aims that Hitler achieves, and by getting back the Tsar, he becomes confident, there's huge overwhelming support, and it starts to really get him going and motivate to perhaps expand even further, and to perhaps show the rest of the world as well, especially Britain and France, maybe they should start to give land back to Germany that they lost, as it seems that the people in the Tsar wanted to be returned to Germany as well. Now our next step is looking at C, which stands for conscription and rearmament. And the main thing with conscription and rearmament is that, once again, it matches one of Hitler's aims, which is to break and abolish the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. In the Treaty of Versailles, it said that Germany had to lower its army to 100,000 men, they had to completely disarm, and now Hitler was just openly, he wasn't doing it in secret, was openly conscripting people to the army, saying they could join the army and be great, have a great profession again, and also started to rearm at a massive rate. And the main thing here is that the League of Nations does nothing to stop this. Remember, one of the terms, the aims of the League of Nations was to uphold the Treaty of Versailles, and yet when Hitler is openly breaking it, they do nothing. Now, why did they do nothing? Well, many people wanted a strong Germany, especially in Britain and France. More Britain, but there were people that were thinking, if Germany is actually made strong, then it can protect them from communist Russia, which was to the east. People at the time, you have to understand, were much more afraid of communism than they were of fascism. And so for many, it felt like Germany were just getting back perhaps what they deserved. And that kind of leads into, as well, the R of SCRAMCUP, which is the Rhineland. And in 1936, Hitler invades the Rhineland, and once again the League of Nations, and especially Britain and France, do nothing to stop this. Now, if this had happened in, let's say, 1919, 1920, most of the 1920s, just before the Great Depression, if Germany had taken back the Rhineland and had conscripted and rearmed, then surely, I mean, I'm thinking it's pretty overwhelmingly, Britain and France would have done something about it. They would have stopped Germany. I mean, look at how they invaded the Ruhr. They'd enforced huge sanctions upon Germany. But now, in the 1930s, there's a change in attitude, and Hitler just walks into the Rhineland. He said to his troops to not attack if Britain and if France especially threatened them back, saying, get out, but they did nothing. Germany walked in, took the Rhineland, and had it back. Because remember, it had become demilitarised under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, so no army or tanks or anything like that was allowed there, and now Germany placed it there. And now on the border with France, they had a huge amount of military, which they had built up due to rearmament, placed right on the backyard of France. Now, Hitler doesn't really do anything for a couple of years, and it only starts to kick off again with Austria. Now, in the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, I'm always coming back to this, Treaty of Versailles says that Germany could not join with Austria in Anschluss. The reason that Hitler did want to join with Austria is because there were German-speaking people there. There was close connections between Austria and Germany. Many saw joining with Austria as making up a greater Germany. Once again, Hitler's aim, greater Germany. And once again, as we can see, the League of Nations does nothing. There's actually, the Austrian leader does appeal to his allies in Britain and France to help him out if Germany do invade, but they don't. Germany just strolls itself into Austria. Italy doesn't do anything about it, even though they're right on the border of Austria. And Hitler just joins with his homeland, because remember, Hitler was Austrian and had always wanted Germany and Austria to be one nation. Another aim achieved, greater Germany, ignoring the Treaty of Versailles. Germany's becoming greater, and the League of Nations does nothing. Now, the first time now that we kind of see the League of Nations not being involved, and Britain and France kind of getting involved in foreign affairs explicitly, is during the Munich Agreement, which, as the date says here, happened in September 1938. And this is a big turning point in leading up to World War II here. The Munich Agreement is huge and is a prime example of appeasement, which means giving in to someone who demands something. Now, so far, Hitler had obviously had always been talking about rearming, taking the Rhineland, taking Austria, ignoring the Treaty of Versailles, and the world leaders ignored this. So they appeased Hitler because they just kind of gave him what he wanted. Now, in this one, which is to do with the Sudetenland, which is on the border between Germany and Czechoslovakia, and used to be part of Germany before it was given to Czechoslovakia, Britain and France explicitly give Germany this bit of land. They say that Hitler can have it. They meet up at the end of September 1938. There's a strife in the Sudetenland area. There's a Nazi party influence there. The Germans who live there the Nazis say that the Germans who live there are being attacked and abused, and therefore Germany should join up with the Sudetenland again. The Allies give the Sudetenland to Hitler, quite simply with the thinking behind it. We don't want to go to war over a little piece of land that's miles away. We don't want to go to war full stop, so let's just give Hitler what he wants. And there was a bit of naivety there, because in March 1939, which leads us on to our Sea of SCRAMCUP, is Czechoslovakia. Hitler just takes the rest of Czechoslovakia. He said he wouldn't. He said, I'll have the Sudetenland, I've got the Rhineland, I've got Austria, I've got my rearmament, my conscription, I won't take any more. And yet in March 1939, he strolls into Czechoslovakia and takes the rest of the country. At this point, most people in the rest of Europe pretty much know that war is on the way. They can't let Hitler keep getting away with this. They stopped talking to Hitler as they had at Munich, and just, in a way, prepared to get ready for war. The U of SCRAMCUP is the USSR Nazi Pact. Hitler shockingly, and also Stalin shocked the world by making a secret deal with each other. Hitler and Stalin, leaders of Germany and Russia, decide to sign a non-aggression pact in August 1939. And they basically agree not to attack each other if Hitler invades Poland. And we'll get into reasons why they did this, and it shocked the world, because you've got to remember, you've got Hitler, who's been constantly talking since Mein Kampf as one of his aims is defeating communism, and yet here he's signing a non-aggression friendly agreement with his worst enemy, and vice versa for Stalin with Hitler. And lastly, we've got P of SCRAMCUP, which is Poland. And Poland, when you look at it, is the short-term cause of the Second World War. All the other 7 points are long-term causes of the Second World War, bar perhaps the USSR Nazi Pact. And here, as soon as Hitler invades Poland, perhaps thinking that Britain and France won't fight back because now Hitler has Russia on his side, and he feels that Britain and France can't really go to war without Russia because of the resources and the manpower they have, he invades Poland. But some say that Hitler was quite surprised. In a big surprise, France and Great Britain do declare war on Germany, and that is how World War II happens and begins in the early days of September 1939. So the best way to remember all the steps in the chronological order is the word SCRAMCUP. SCRAMCUP, Tsar conscription, Rhineland, Austria, Munich, Czechoslovakia, USSR Nazi Pact, Poland.